Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey Pete. Now we can call it that, right? So if you missed our last week's video, we named the Cabover project is now Whiskey Pete. So I'll probably still say Cabover project once in a while, but Whiskey Pete engine build, I guess segment 1. So today we're going to be putting the crankshaft in. We got this block back from the machine shop and we've cleaned it all up. I mean, it was pretty clean when we got it, but we've blown through all the holes and washed it down a little bit, so we're ready to pop the main caps off today. So that's what we'll be doing. Just a little side note, today's been a rough day for us. Normally, I shouldn't say normally, we've been talking about how we're going to get a couple weeks ahead on these segments so that we got room to breathe and can get things done, but we're getting ready to go to SEMA this week, and that gives us, we're taking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, which is hard here because we're super busy, but we've kind of planned for that, and we got a truck that we're doing an in-frame on that we were planning on working through the weekend and knocking it out so that we're good to go. And lo and behold, that's when things go wrong, and they have. And so we purchased a PAI kit to go in this ISX, and we've used PAI before, so there's nothing new there, but just a complaint. PAI kit doesn't come with everything you need. I don't care if you use them all the time and you think they're wonderful. I think the quality of the stuff is, for the most part, good. But for instance, they give you a thermostat and no seal, and one gasket, and it takes two. And it's just stuff like that that's frustrating, especially on a weekend when you can't go get something if you don't have it in stock. So we've been dealing with that today, and then we get our liners in and the protrusions off, and we messed around with that forever. I checked all my counter bores that I cut, and come to find out the captive shim on the liner is something's messed up. It's about 10 thousandths taller than it ought to be. So here we are stranded. So we decided to move over to the Whiskey Pete project because we're tired of looking at the other one. So some of you are going to say PAI is awesome. I don't know what I'm talking about, and that may be the case, but for us, at least this weekend, I'm not happy with PAI. Also this week, I got this cool little drink cozy from Kenworth, and it's magnet. Look at that. Take my drink wherever I go. So thanks to Kenworth for that, baby. Yeah, let's get to it. Anything else? I'm trying to give you a little. PAI, even though we just. Yeah, after I just complained about PAI, that's what's going in this motor or the engine. I get in trouble for saying motor too, but yeah, we're going back with PAI parts, so we'll see how it goes for this build. It's probably just because we're in a rush over here. That's usually what happens when you're trying to hurry. Things never go right. So we're going to take a breather from that project, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have a little better luck with that going back together. So anyway, we're down to it. So we're going to pop these caps off. We'll clean everything, and I'll show you at least how I do main bearings on an N14 and about anything else as far as the process that I go through. So bear with me. We'll make a little noise. As I've said in the past, I'm not a big fan of Milwaukee and all that yet. I still like my air. So alright, them off. We're going to get these caps off. We'll put them right here on our little shelf for the time being. Alright. So we're just going to brake clean. There's always stuff, you never get it all. So it doesn't hurt just to be clean as possible. Okay. I already did this once, but I'm a little anal about it. Just make sure there's nothing lodged in there that could be, I guess. All right, so we're ready to go in with the tops. This is where it gets tricky when you're doing an out of frame, because it's actually the bottom, because it's flipped upside down, right? So it's always something you got to have on your mind. Now, whenever I'm doing main bearings, and you can ask anybody in the shop, but it doesn't matter if it's in frame or out of frame or whatever, I don't like to be bothered, because you can screw these up pretty easy if you get sidetracked. Okay, so you got your thrust. The interesting thing about N14 and Big Cam, for that matter, is there's different sizes of bearings, so you got to be pretty cautious what you're doing. So if you look, there's a bunch that size, right? And then you got some wide ones, but the number 7 is actually wider than all the rest. And if you don't know that, now's a good time to learn that. So usually what I do when I'm doing bearings, so the ones with the groove are always the tops with the oil hole in the groove. Okay, which is backwards, right? Because we're upside down. It's going to be our bottoms today. But I'm always putting the tops in first. So what I do is I pull all the tops out and move everything else to the side. So there's no way that I can mess up and put a bottom in a top. So we're going to pull all these out right now. Okay, see those 3 all got the grooves in them, and now we're back to the solids, which are in the cap. So we're going to put those aside. I'm going to grab my thicker ones. Basically going to do the same thing here. Okay, that's my extra wide one for the number 7. I opened these kind of on the wrong end, but I don't know what this baby's all about. Yeah. And I'm going to forget about them. So that way all I've got is my tops. I'm not going to screw anything up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Am I missing one? Right there. 7. Okay, and then we got our extra wide one, right? All right, the other thing you want to note is just because the box says standard does not necessarily mean they're all standard. I check every one before it goes in. So as I grab it, I'll check it. It's hard to see, but it says STD right there. I don't know if that's worse or better. That way you know it's standard bearing. We know it's standard because we didn't turn the crank. The line bore is standard. We just got the crank polished Magnaflux. So one time have I seen it box strong in 32 years, but that's enough to know that you got to check it. All right, so we'll be using, everybody has their own style, but we'll be using the Lubriplate, just what I've always used. I don't have a preference that I hate anything else or anything like that. It's just what we're doing. So, clean my hand off with some brake clean. I know I should be wearing gloves, blah, blah. I don't like gloves. You all know the glove saying, right? Only thing you can do with gloves on, pee your pants. That's what they say. And that's probably true because you can't get them off fast enough. Okay, we got a narrow. I just happened to grab the narrow, so I'm going in with the narrow. There'll be something pretty interesting here, I'll show you. Now, someone's probably saying, if you haven't done mains on a Cummins before, you're going to say, where's the bearing tang? And there isn't one. So generally you'll have a notch in a bearing here that goes in the block, okay? Cummins mains do not have that. They have this little groove right there, which is held together with this little guy here, little washer. Some call it a wedding band. I like to refer to it as a wedding band, like that. And that goes in a groove in the block and sits just like that and holds them bearings from spinning. Okay, so it's very crucial the bearings get in there straight and that your wedding band fits good and you're not just shoving them in there. So if you can actually get it in there so it's a little bit to one side and then your wedding band sits like that. And that's not what we want, right? So you got to get it like so. Okay. For some of you that have done this 100 times, you're going to think this is pretty slow going, but I just kind of wanted to show everybody how we do it. I'm always checking for standard. And our extra big number 7. Okay, our tops are in. You'll see the groove cut in the top right here for that washer or wedding band to fit. You can see that that's recessed down in there. As far as putting mains in, this and big cam, at least my opinion, is probably one of the harder ones. Not that it's difficult, but there's a lot more that you need to pay attention to than, you know, make sure the tab's in the right spot and it goes. But with this wedding band situation, you got to make sure things are straight, and with the extra bearing size, you got to make sure you know what you're doing there. So we'll put a little more. Just put a little bit of lubriplate on these. And you know, more is always better, but you don't need a ton on here. I mean, it just needs to, something for the crank to roll on. So you can get a little crazy with it. So, in fact, I probably put a little too much on in general. So, all right, so got that done. Now we'll get the crank in the air. We'll clean it off again. It's been wrapped with plastic. We just got it unwrapped, and we'll brake clean it off and shine everything one last time. Blow through some of the holes, and then we'll set her in, and then we'll put the caps on. So, well, I take a That's handy as heck. Feel free to send me stuff. I get a kick out of cool stuff like this. It doesn't have to be a new car. I mean, I was thrilled when I got that. Look at that. Better than sliced bread right there. Okay, hang tight. We'll put the crank in. All right, I'm just going to slip these wedding bands in. Just for reference, when I'm doing this in frame, so I'd be laying under it, right, and everything would be flipped over. These don't stay in the hole real good, or I don't trust them to stay in the hole real good. I probably do them different than anybody else, so if I'm wrong, but I'll tell you what I do. Instead of putting them up in like this, I will put them on the cap, and I'll show you, well, I can show you real quick. When I go back up, you can see where they go right there. So this bearing will get in. I'll put it like that, and then I'll seat the cap like that. Might be right or wrong. I've done it that way forever and never had any issues, so I continue to do the things that way when I have that go on. So that one's going to take a little tap. And that one. Okay, wedding band or main cap washer, whatever you want to call it. And that's what keeps that bearing from spinning. So you got to make sure your slot's straight, or you are going to have trouble. All right, we'll get these caps turned over. I'll get them wiped off again. We're going to oil the bolts with clean engine oil as per the book says. So we'll oil the threads and then the top of the head, and then we'll run them down and get them torqued. But first, setting the crank in. All right, we got her all wiped down. We're ready to go. Now, if Deegan can run the forklift without damaging the whole world here, we're just going to go down nice and slow. Stop, stop, stop. Oh, just kidding. Just making sure he's paying attention. All right, we're good. Easy. Real slow now. Keep going. Okay. I think we're in. Nice. Didn't even bang anything up. All right, so we got our crank in. I'm just getting the caps ready to go. I got them flipped over, washed off again. I'm just oiling all the main bolts. It said to do the heads and the threads with clean engine oil, which is what we're doing.
Is that synthetic?
Yeah. I don't know if it's synthetic. I don't care. anyway, I just let them do their thing, over oil, whatever, sprinkler it. It's all just to get a good torque, so we'll just let them stay oily there. Okay, back to the bearing side of things. Remember how I left all the caps in the kit so that I didn't mess nothing up? And there they are. So I got, and I'll double and triple check, but I have nothing with a groove in it that goes on the top. Nothing with a groove in it. And then I got my extra wide number 7 right there. Didn't even talk about thrust, but they're right here. So we have a thrust bearing that keeps the crank from moving end to end. Those will need to go in. The packaging's good. All right. So these thrusts are going to go, they'll roll in right here when I get ready. But they're not quite right on end play just yet. But that's where they're going to go. So there'll be some on the cap and then on the block as well. So I'll show you how I get them in there, but I just want to show you where they go. They go on number 7. A lot of blocks, including ISX, is on number 4. And so, like I said, this big cam and N14 is kind of different from everything else, but the thrust is on number 7 on those. So I'm going to go through, put in my caps. I'll double check these when I go on. The only reason I know it goes this way is I can see where the wedding band went previously, so I know it goes right there. And right there. So that's the wide ones. I'll get the narrow ones. I probably shouldn't be doing this under this table. So we've got the crank in, not bolted down yet. I just put this thrust in, but I couldn't do everything. I needed 10 hands, but when it's in the truck, it's easier because it's hanging the other direction. But that thrust goes around that side of the crank, and then we slid the crank forward to hold that thrust in while we put this other thrust in. So it'll go like this and roll right around and hopefully stay put like so. There's the other end of it right there. And then the cap has the same on it. So the cap has thrust on that side too. So, okay, a little bit more cleaning and we'll get going here. All right, got a little better table going here. So, lubricate these or whatever assembly lube you prefer to use. Like I said, I'm not picky, but just always use this, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, so number 1, you probably can't see this in the camera, but they are numbered. Number 1 right there. It's very hard to see, it's little dots. But what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'm just double and triple checking myself. This is just how I do it. You don't have to do it, but I'm making sure I got the wedding band. I'm making sure that my top's in, and then I'm making sure that the cap is not the top, so it's a solid bearing, so I know I got the right bearing there. And then I'm going to orient the wedding band groove right onto there. We'll seat them like that. Okay, Deegan, you want to hand me some more? So this will be number 2. I'll verify that it is actually number 2. And again, making sure that the bearing is solid. And I'm going to orient that to that. Number 3 there. Number 4. Five. Six. And 7. Okay, this is where the tricky part comes. So we still got thrust to put on here, okay? So my other 2 thrusts. When you're in the truck, this is really hard to explain, but you end up putting one up on the with some grease, and it sticks there for you. I know it sounds weird. Where's our luber plate at? So we do one like that. It's got a little pin that it sits on, but if you don't stick it there, they like to fall off, and especially when you're doing it in the truck, because you have to do a lot of tilting and moving to get it to go in there. I'll just take some of that. Same on this side. And then this one has dowels right here, so you have to line those up. So we got our thrusts on both sides. I know it's number 7 because of the wide cap, but we'll double check it when I get it down there. But I'm gonna have to hurry and set it down here so it don't. Got my wedding band in. Like so. Just gonna make sure it says number 7, which it really should. It does. I don't know if you can see the pin right there. They got to be in those pins or they're gonna bust or rotate on you. So here it's easy because we're standing up and can do it, but when you're doing it in the truck, you got to make sure that you get those guide pins in. Okay, now we'll put some bolts in. Like I said, we oiled these a minute ago. They're probably still fine. No issue. All right, got a fly buzzing me. We ran them down with the gun just till they touched. There's actually 3 different torques for this, so we did, it's 90, 170, and then 255, and then you're supposed to back it off and do it all again. We got the 90 and the 170, so now we're going to go to 255. Just for note, per Cummins spec, depending upon what block you have, sometimes it's a torque turn and sometimes it's not. This is an older block. The engine serial number falls in the range of it needs to be torqued to 255 and not 90 degrees. Just do what the book says. I can't tell you that it's good or bad or whatever, but our serial number falls in that, so we're going to follow instructions. So we'll get this final torque, we'll see if it turns, and we won't bore you with the backing them all back off and redoing it again, but I promise we will do it because that's what it tells us to do. But we'll get after it here. We'll have Deegan hold one end and I'll hold the other. Well, at least I'll hold the wrench. So just in case that tries to turn, but basically I just start in the middle, work your way out. The reason I'm on the end is it's a little bit more of a pull this way and not trying to tip the block over as much. But all right, I'll have to get off my chair, I guess. I will go back through and check them, so don't panic yet. Let's see, I think I did that one. Then when I check them, I don't check them in torquing order. I just go down one side and up the other. That way I don't miss one. All right, got them torqued. Now, does it roll? Because if it doesn't, guess what? We're taking it back apart, figuring out why. We don't have our dampener on here, but hopefully this bar, oh, look at that. It's not the best bar for this, it's pretty big. Deegan's rolling it on his own. Anyway, does real good to spin it a couple times, make sure nothing's binding. Man, that's nice, huh? All right. Well, there you have it. Cranks in the Whiskey Pete engine, I should say. Next week, hopefully we're putting pistons and liners in and some cam bushings and a cam. And hopefully we're a little more caught up and can spend more time and get more footage of more than just one item going in here for you. But anyway, she's coming along slowly but surely. We haven't forgot the project outside. We will get it in here, and then we can do cosmetic stuff along the way as we work on the engine for sure. But hopefully we haven't bored you too much. But cranks in Whiskey Pete, and we got all our parts here as far as I know, so we should be able to get going pretty good on this thing. We're going to go to SEMA, take a few days off. We're not important enough to have a booth. We're just going, so don't think you're going to see us there sporting a booth, but we're going to go down, hang out, look at all the cool stuff, and good excuse to go to Vegas for a few days, get back to work, and get after it some more. We got lots of work in the shop and lots of engine stuff going on. So anyway, we thank you for bringing us your stuff. If you're one of those people that's in our shop right now, we're hurrying. We're sorry, but we're hurrying, and we appreciate your patience. And if you're one of those guys just sitting here watching this project, we thank you for that. And we'll get it done as quick as we can, but we are going to be a little bit meticulous with it. There's certain things we want, so we're going to be a little careful as we go. But thanks for hanging in there and watching, and more Whiskey Pete to come. See you next week.